Right now, we have a huge update. Johnny Somali has changed his plea. So he has now pled guilty on all 4 obstruction charges.
Breaking news just dropped, and it's explosive. Johnny Somali has finally pled guilty, and now he's staring down 5 long years in prison. On top of that, he's been slapped with a massive fine of 50,100,000 won. That's roughly $37,000 in US dollars, and up to 30 days of detention. This is way beyond a warning. This is the system coming down hard. Inside the courtroom, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The judge wasted no time shutting down Johnny Somali and his lawyer's desperate request. It was an instant no. The full details of the obstruction of business charges were finally made public, and they painted a picture that had the whole room buzzing.
Change is not guilty to guilty. He's pled guilty to everything. Guilty to the Minor Crimes Act.
Witnesses didn't just testify, they unloaded. One after another, they dropped shocking statements, locking eyes with Johnny as they spoke. And just when it couldn't get any juicier, new revelations came out that Hank Yu straight up lied, and the proof was displayed in front of everyone. The look on his face said it all. Then, to top it off, Johnny Somali stepped into court with a completely new look, standing shoulder to shoulder with Hank Yu like some kind of defiant tag team.
A quote-unquote student, and that he still actually lives at Hank's house. So that's interesting because Hank is going on to say, oh, Johnny does not live with me. I do not help Johnny anymore. I'm not associated with him anymore. Apparently, that's not true.
And here's the kicker. Hank Yu had been claiming all along that he didn't know anything about Johnny Somali, but we now know that was a flat-out lie. I told you before, this was part of their little strategy, but it just blew up in their faces. Johnny's lawyer didn't stand a chance. The prosecution and the judge tore through him like paper, leaving nothing behind. Now let's talk about Johnny's so-called fresh look. That haircut, still a total disaster. I said before it wasn't going to look good, and surprise, it doesn't. It's the same messy, uneven style that makes him look like he just rolled out of a back alley barbershop. Up until now, his face had been hidden from the public, but trust me, it's only a matter of time before it's fully revealed. And when it is, people are going to be shocked at how rough he looks. To make matters worse,
Johnny is wearing a black blazer with a white button-up, no tie. The judge is back from recess. Johnny also has changed his hair. He now has a buzz cut. So now Johnny has a buzz cut instead of his normal cut.
the lawyer they hired was weak from the start. You could literally hear him throwing out completely illogical excuses, trying to stall things. Can you even wrap your head around the kind of lawyer Johnny Somali brought in? This was someone completely unprepared to fight for him. When pressed to produce proof for the defense or challenge the mountain of evidence stacked against Johnny, the lawyer just flat out refused, saying he couldn't. That's not a defense, that's surrender. Everybody in that courtroom already knew the truth. Johnny Somali had zero evidence to prove he was innocent. But instead of facing reality, he kept trying to play the victim. And honestly, what could his lawyer even do at this point? There was no defense strategy left that could save him. Even more shocking, the creator, Atuai, was present in court. And later it came out that Hank Yu's own family had been pressuring the lawyer to defend Johnny. You can hear it straight from Atuai.
They just asked for the lawyer's evidence in the cases for which he pleads not guilty. The judge wants to know what he denies specifically about the deepfake allegations. So remember, last time the judge asked Johnny's lawyer, Ramsey's lawyer, what proof do you have you're not guilty? And the lawyer literally said, we have nothing. We have no proof that he's not guilty. The lawyer is completely now today, after the judge asked him, what specific proof do you have? The lawyer is completely flustered. Ramsey's lawyer is flustered in court. He says he already submitted the evidence to the court and he's unable to articulate it now.
This wasn't about justice. It was about protecting connections. And get this, Johnny's lawyer begged the court for more time, even though these proceedings usually last just 15 minutes. Their plan, try to reach out to Bong Bong, maybe set up a meeting, but Bong Bong wasn't even in the courtroom that day. The shamelessness didn't stop there. They knew they had no case, so they actually went after the witnesses. And just when you think it couldn't get any lower, leaked messages from Johnny Somali's own official Discord server surfaced, showing him trash-talking Bong Bong behind the scenes like it was some kind of joke. It's now crystal clear Johnny Somali was actively trying to block witnesses from testifying, but that little tactic has completely backfired. What once might have been a sneaky move is now worthless, and it's only hurting him even more. By the end of the proceedings, the difference in strength between the two sides was obvious. Johnny's lawyer came off as fragile and powerless, while the prosecution came in swinging with rock-solid arguments. Even when the judge and prosecutors cornered him, Johnny stubbornly refused to plead guilty at first, tossing out ridiculous, nonsensical reasons that had everyone in the room looking at him like, really? But that act didn't last. Under the pressure, Johnny finally cracked, admitting guilt to the obstruction of business charges he had been denying all along. Right now, he's sitting with 6 criminal charges on his back and has already pled guilty to most of them. Still, he's holding out on one thing, the deepfake crimes. Even though he admitted to distributing the material, which is still a criminal offense, he refuses to plead guilty to those charges.
The lawyer requested more time than usual.
Okay.
To examine them.
So
why?
What's a normal time to examine someone, you think?
Set it, and for this they set 15 minutes for the defense for the lawyer to interview the. They set 15 minutes, and since he couldn't block it, he wanted more time with the witnesses, which means if they can't block the witnesses, they really want to grill them. So he might be planning on going all in on Bong Bong.
As it stands, Johnny Somali is looking at a guaranteed 5-year prison sentence and a hefty fine. But if the deep fake charges stick when sentencing comes down, he could be staring at up to 12 years behind bars. So at this point, the only thing Johnny Somali is still refusing to plead guilty to is the deep fake case. He's standing there claiming he never committed the crime, even insisting he doesn't know how to make deep fakes at all. But the problem for Johnny, the evidence is telling a completely different story. And just when you think his situation couldn't get worse, here's the bombshell. Fresh evidence tied to the obstruction of business charges has just leaked. This isn't just confirming what we already knew. It's stacking even more weight on his already heavy rap sheet. With this new leak added to the pile, Johnny Somali isn't just facing 6 charges anymore. He's now looking at 8 full-blown criminal charges. With 8 charges now hanging over him, Johnny Somali's legal nightmare is spiraling out of control. The prosecution is stacking the case higher every day, and each new leak makes it harder for him to keep up his "I'm innocent" act. Court insiders are saying the judge is losing patience fast, and that's never a good sign when sentencing is around the corner.
How was Johnny's lawyer?
Flustered, definitely out of his depth. I kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I know he was pressured by Hank's family to be a part of this case, and I think he's trying to do his best to balance between Johnny and...
What's wild is how Johnny still tries to keep his composure in front of the cameras, even though behind closed doors, he's reportedly panicking. People close to the case claim he's been making frantic calls, trying to rally support from anyone who will pick up. But with Hank Yu's credibility shattered and the evidence piling sky high, those calls might be going nowhere. At this stage, the courtroom tension is almost electric. Every new witness, every new piece of evidence feels like another nail in Johnny Somali's coffin. Prosecutors aren't just building a case, they're tearing apart his entire defense, brick by brick. Rumors are swirling that investigators have even more digital evidence they haven't shown yet, stuff that could directly tie Johnny to the deep fake operation he swears he knows nothing about. And if that's true, the denial game is over. Meanwhile, Hank Yu has been eerily quiet since being caught lying under oath. Some insiders say he's distancing himself from Johnny altogether, trying to save his own skin. But others believe Hank is still pulling strings in the background, hoping to twist the outcome before it's too late. So here's one of the most ridiculous parts. Johnny Somali was actually caught causing chaos on a public bus, disturbing everyone on board. Even after passengers warned him multiple times to cut it out, he just kept going, like he didn't care who he was bothering. That stunt landed him with 4 obstruction of business charges, and now it's official. He's pled guilty to all of them. Right now, the clock is ticking on his sentence. At this rate, Johnny is already guaranteed 5 solid years in prison. But if the court proves the deep fake charges, the ones he's still denying, his total time could shoot up to 12 years behind bars. The only reason we don't have that verdict yet is because he refused to plead guilty, so the court will now take extra time to lock in the evidence. The next trial is set for October. And here's the bombshell. Sentencing could be handed down right around that time. If that happens, Johnny Somali could be walking out of that courtroom straight into a prison van. So now it's on you. Do you think Johnny can somehow defend himself against the deep fake charges? Or is 12 years in prison his unavoidable future? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you're here when the next major update breaks.